My name is Lapinski. I run CDI Europe and the UK office. CDI is an organization. Our vision is to empower people through technology. We've been doing that for 15 years, and about 1.3 million people have gone through technology courses with CDI in 13 countries. In the UK, we run a program called Apps for Good, and that is all about helping young people to create mobile phone applications that solve problems in society. But what we also want to do is to create a new generation of problem solvers. And that's what I want to talk about today. So I don't know if we can see the presentation. What I want to talk about today is first how I see the current situation of how problems are being solved, how we think about that differently with Apps for Good, and what that could mean for you and the young people you work with. So first I wanted to start with the effectiveness of problem solving today. And my first slide is about new products and new products that are launched every year in the market. There are figures that 80 to 95% of all new products fail when they're launched. That's 8 out of 10 products that are launched every year that don't succeed in the market. It's a huge number. New businesses. In the UK, after 5 years, 60 to 80% of all new businesses fail. They disappear from the marketplace. They never succeed. So I try to look for public innovation and public data. Is that any different? Well, according to a McKinsey study, over the past 10 years, 70% of all developed countries fail to consistently improve their schooling systems. 70%. It's a huge number. So why is that? Why are we so horrible at creating new innovative businesses, new product solutions to public services? Why is that the case? Well, I thought since we're at an education conference, we can play a game. So that's why I wanted to leave the lights up. So the rule is the following. It's a bit like in class. I ask you questions and you answer, okay? Don't lift up your hands, just shout the answers, please. So my first question is the following. What is the outcome when you multiply 6 by 7? Yes, great, 42. Next question, how do you pronounce this word? Yeah, sounded a bit like one, it's great. My third question, who is this man? Well done. Yeah, you see, we're in a room full of teachers, that's great. So I have a fourth question to you, and that is, how do you solve this problem? Any suggestions? Yeah, that's a good one. Sorry? Take the tray? Salt? Okay. Okay, great. Well, my point is the following. My question to you is, who actually has the problem? Why does it matter? And what actually is the problem? Is the problem that the owner of the car is inside, desperately trying to get out? Is it that the car is blocking traffic, and you have a huge traffic jam behind you, and you're really trying to solve that problem? Or is it that the owner of the car is in the Caribbean, actually doesn't care, and is waiting for summer to just the ice to melt? The thing is, in real life, problems are context-specific, and they're not straightforward. So why is that? Why do we all, I think that's sort of a natural thing, jump towards solutions and not looking at problems? And I think what we've learned over the past 12 months is that actually that is something to do with the education system and the way how problem solving and solutions are taught in, maybe not in every school, but in a vast majority of schools today. And the way how we think about problems is, what you learn in school is you learn to recognize a standard problem. And you then use a standardized tool. So when I ask you the question about who's Winston Churchill and you see the image, you know that. You know about history. You know about multiplication, so you can say 42. You know how to pronounce a word. That's great. And don't get me wrong, It's a great thing to have. So what you get in school is this huge Swiss Army knife of standard tools to solve standard problems. And that's a great thing to have. Just imagine you're somewhere camping outside, you want to open a can. A Swiss Army knife is a great thing to have. The issue is you cannot solve every problem with a Swiss Army knife. It just doesn't work that way. And I think that is the reason why people complain, whereas standard exam results go up, people still complain that young people are not prepared for the real world. Because with a Swiss Army knife, you cannot solve every problem. So how can you deal with that issue? How can you do that? Well, we think while a Swiss Army knife is a great thing, and schools are really good at doing that, there's a requirement that schools now have to go beyond the Swiss Army knife. And that is that young people learn how to define problems and then how to devise the right solution to those problems. And sometimes when they do that, the answer to that problem is a Swiss Army knife and using a specific tool in the tool set they have. Sometimes it's not, and sometimes it's actually about creating new tools that are specific to the problem. And those tools might look very different from a Swiss Army knife. So I don't know if anyone in the room knows what tool that is. Any suggestions of what that could be? Door stopper? Okay. Corkscrew? Okay. Any other suggestions? Okay. Well, actually, it's a specialized tool to clean tubes, where you can pull it through and then it gets really clean. So the only point I wanted to make, there are some specific tools for specific problems that you might not even know about. So this is exactly the thing we do with Apps for Good. What we do is a course is we work with young people so that they can define real-life problems they care about, and they then work on devising effective app tools. And for us, an app is just a very useful tool to think about different contexts and different elements. That's all we do. So I'll quickly talk you through the 5 steps we have. I'm not going to talk about it in detail because we'll be running a workshop this afternoon. If you want to test that out, just come to the workshop. But just to give you a brief overview, the first step we have is problem definition. So what we just did is like, who has the problem? Why is it a problem? How many people have it, etc. Why does it matter? Once you've done that, you can go out and do market research. Who are the users? Who are the customers? What specific problems do they actually have? You gather data. The third thing then is solution design. What is the business model? What is the marketing model? What is the technical feasibility, etc. You jumped the first 2 steps and we just went to the solution. And that's, as I said, like in real life, that's a problem if you do that. And I think that's also an explanation why so many new things fail, is like if you don't understand who the users are, why they actually need your product, then the chances are quite high it might fail. The fourth thing is product design. And that's really not the first thing you do, is like looking at wireframes, looking at storyboards, how it should actually look like. And then the last thing is building and testing things. So we use tools like App Inventor for Android, but we also do quite simple mock-ups so you can start testing what users actually think about it. That's the overview. But since we're talking about problem solving today, I thought I'd share 2 key things we've learned about problem definition and how we now think about, if you want to identify a problem, how you go about it. The first thing is, when you think about a problem, you need to think about real people you know by name. And you have to find at least 5 people who have that specific problem. If you think you have a problem and you want to work on that, and you cannot find 4 people who have the same problem, the problem might not be the problem, but the problem might be you. So don't worry about them because there won't be a market. The second thing is, if you really want to show that you've understood a problem, you need to be able to tell and to reenact the problem story, step by step. So you can really show that you've done that and that you really understand that in a very contextualized space. So I thought that's enough of theory today. I wanted to introduce you, we have 2 students who will be talking about the work they've done. The first person is Ahmed. He was a student on the second course we ran at High Trees Community Development Trust in South London in Lambeth. There we run the course for 16 to 25-year-olds not in full-time education, training or employment. The course runs over 8 weeks, 3 hours a day, 5 days a week. So he participated in the course between September and November last year. And I thought you should give Ahmed a really warm welcome so he can come on stage.
Hi everyone, thanks Iris. My name is Ahmed, and during the Apps for Good course, my team came up with the concept for the Oystercheck app, which the main purpose of it is to basically make the lives of Oyster card users more easier. And if anyone doesn't know what an Oyster card is, it's basically this, which is the main travel card for all Londoners. And this card has many, many problems, and we've actually made a video so you guys can see what the problem is. So enjoy. Okay, so can I get a show of hands to if you are a Londoner? Okay, keep your hand up if you've actually been in that situation. Exactly my point, okay. And this is the main reason why we want to make this app, so it'll be quite beneficial. Moving on to the market research, we've actually, we conducted a market research where we interviewed 150 people, and we found out that basically 66% of people were rejected by using the Oyster card on the bus and the train. We also found out that 88% of people don't actually check their Oyster balance online. So the question is, what is the solution to this? And we say the solution is the Oystercheck phone app. It's very easy to use. As you can see, you can view your Oyster card balance with multiple amount of Oyster card accounts. Also, there are additional 5 features: the top up, notify me, my travel history, fare calculator, and lost my card. Also, we've actually been speaking to Transport for London for quite a while now, and they're actually in the process of figuring out the options of how to work with us. But in the meanwhile, if you guys want to see the full app, you can go to our website, which is the oystercheck.co.uk. Or you can actually, alternatively, you can go to my website as well, which is ahmedbarrettdesign.com. Thanks for listening, and I'm going to hand it back to Iris now. Thank you.
Isn't that a great practical solution to a problem many of you who live in London have? Right? Great. Well, let me introduce you to the second student we have. Her name is Amara Khan, and she's a full-time student at Central Foundation Girls' School in Tower Hamlets. So there we run the course for the girls. They're in education, so we run it twice a week over 4.5 months. So we started in September, and we are now finishing that in February this year. And I'd like to see where Amara is, so let me first welcome Amara. Amara. Let's welcome Amara.
Hi guys, I'm Amara, and I don't know what happened. I'm kind of late. I mean, I set my alarm clock last night, and then it went off in the morning, and I pressed the snooze button. Please don't tell anyone. And when I finally did wake up, I was late, and I was like, oh, great, I'm late. And I was running around, rushing, trying to find everything I need, and It's kind of why I'm in my pajamas. I don't really have time. Does anyone else have this problem? I'm not alone, right? Can you raise your hand, please? Yay, I'm not alone. 30 out of the 40 people I asked said that they wake up late regularly, and the rest of the 10 said that they wake up late occasionally. But why? Why are we late wakers? Why can't we wake up? The reason is that when you actually do set your alarm clock, in the night you have a reason, and that reason is like a job interview or a doctor's appointment. But when your alarm goes off in the morning, you forget that reason. You just press the snooze button. You're not thinking about waking up. You're thinking about having another nap. And then when you finally wake up, you're late, and you have to deal with embarrassing situations like this. So what our app, Buzzer Buddies, does is that it tells you all those reasons why you need to wake up before it's too late. So you set your alarm clock, as usual, and then it asks you why, and you record a reason to yourself, such as I have a job interview in the morning, and this can be practical, whereas it can remind you of things in the morning, such as I have a job interview, PS, remember to pick up the laundry. And in the morning, when you press the snooze button, it tells you the reason why to wake up. You know why to wake up now. If you don't, that's your own fault. But we've thought of that. If you press the snooze button again, it sends a push note to a friend letting them know that you're going to be late. It's
Well done. So that's Amara. I think she's very amazing in terms of the ideas they come up with, Buzzer Buddies. I'm pretty sure the only question you have now is like, when can you download this app, right? Soon, hopefully. So they will be doing their final pitch presentation mid-February, and then the judges will decide if we're going to build that app. So those were two examples, and I just wanted to give you a third final example on a problem that came up during a workshop we ran. So we ran a workshop. We do that stuff not only with students, we did it with teachers at Central Foundation Girls School, and we asked them what is a problem they're worried about. And they come up with a really interesting problem. So just imagine, or if you are, then don't imagine, you're a secondary school teacher, and you're currently in the playground of that school, and an accident happens. What do? You're not qualified to give first aid. The first thing you do is you try to call the central office, at least the Central Foundation, and they have a list of people who are qualified to give first aid. They call them one by one. They don't pick up the phone, they might not be in school. It takes a long time, and it doesn't really work. So the teachers came up with a solution where you can pre-register all those people, and you then just send a push notification to them, and they can reply back when they're available and when they're actually on their way. And when they do that, they automatically also see an ambulance light and sound, and they can walk towards the accident like a real ambulance. So that's another example of an app the teachers came up with. So I've been talking about what we do with Apps for Good and what we do with the course. There's one thing that actually adds to that, and there's more to Apps for Good. And that is our expert community. Over the past 12 months, we've basically started to create a network of 150 leading-edge designers, developers, programmers who are helping us to give feedback in the course, to advise the young people we work with, to give them feedback on technical feasibility, but also then to mentor them and help them to build their apps afterwards. So we work with people like Dell, we're supported by the Nomina Trust, but also Orange Labs, and a whole range of independent developers. They're our special sauce, in a sense. They make sort of our course slightly different from what many other people do. There's another thing, though, why we are so excited about what we do. And that is, on the one hand, as we showed to you today, we train young people to come up with problems and to define them. And that's great because they can learn skills, and they might not want to do apps, they might want to do other businesses or solve other problems in public service, whatever they want to do. However, when they go through the course, they already work on real-life problems. They work on problems they're passionate about, their communities are passionate about. So what we're currently betting on is that actually those apps will be really useful to all those users who have smartphones going forward. And that's why we think there's sort of a double upside in terms of what we do. So during last year, we trained about 40 people. We developed all the content, all the methodology. During 2011, our vision is to train 1,000 students. We know that this is quite a big, hairy goal. And the way how we're going to do that is to work with direct partners. So I talked about High Trees Community Development Trust, and I talked about Central Foundation Girls' Schools. They're our current 2 partners. We've been talking to a range of other people who are currently interested in working with us, schools, youth centers, and we have quite a long list of interest. So if you want to potentially be one of our partners, I just suggest get in touch as soon as you can. So to finish it off, what we want to do with Apps for Good is that young people learn how to create, define problems, create solutions to those problems. We can only do that in partnership with other people. We can do that in partnership with Central Foundation Girls' Schools and other direct partners. We can only do that when we have inspiring students like Amara and Ahmed, and only when we have helpful experts and professionals. What we want to achieve and what our vision is to grow a new generation of problem solvers. And we're looking forward to work with as many people in this room as we can. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that. It's very interesting. I do have a question, actually, that I would like to ask, and I'm sure there'll be at least time for one question here before we get on to the next speaker. How do you go about selecting the partners that you work with? Because obviously, I would imagine a number of people here would like to get involved with your organization. I mean, is there a particular criteria that you follow to choose the partners that you work with to put out your program?
Well, our preferred... how to say that? Well, initially, we're looking at people who work in difficult communities. That's why we're in Tower Hamlets, because it's a low-income community in the east of London. They're sort of our preferred partners where we would want to work with them. We're also looking at what type of school they are, how inspiring they are, if they're really passionate about working with the local community. I know that they have an outstanding Ofsted rating from about community engagement. I talked to the head of community, so we had sort of conversations about that. We're also looking for people in the school who want to take over the role of educator. So the way how we, and to be sort of an anchor in the organization. What we're going to do in the girls' school now is the girls are currently applying to become educators themselves, and we train them to run the course. What we did during the current rounds of courses, we recruited 3 of the first alumni of the first course to become educators. They should be all here in the room, but I'll just point out Carlos was a student on the first course, and he's now an educator. So that is sort of the way how we go about it. And we work with youth centers as well, but that's probably less relevant.
Okay, thank you. We have time for one question before we move on to the next speaker. Anyone got a question for either Iris or any of these amazing students that we've just heard from? So just one question. Don't be shy. Gentleman here in the green shirt, if I can get a microphone over here, please. If you could just say your name, your organization, and brief question. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Steve Kirkpatrick from Willow Tree Primary School, and my question is simple. How young do you think this can go?
I don't know, is the answer. So we started out with 16 to 25. We're now down to 13. I don't know how young we can go. I suspect that's to be tested. So if you're really keen to do that, get in touch and we can have a conversation. We don't have a set sort of age range on that.